Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to look at Pauper, specifically at the most popular decks in Pauper and the most successful decks in Pauper. Every single week we do a metagame analysis. Let's jump into it. The Pauper metagame looks a little bit like this. At the very top, and this is no surprise at all, is Grixis Affinity. In second, the blue-black tempo deck, the 1-mana 5/5 deck. Tied in third is, I call it Turbo Fog. Really, it's just like the Tron Ephemerate deck. And Kildatha Red are tied in third. But something I'd like to draw your attention to is that, you're only a little bit more likely to play against a random side deck than the most popular deck. There's definitely a small list of decks that are good or not in Modern, and it's hard to make almost anything else work. Other decks only being 21% is not super duper healthy. You can pretty much expect to be playing against one of these decks every round. But let's look at the most popular deck. Let's look at Grixis. So Grixis Affinity is exactly what it sounds like, right? It's trying to play cheap creatures in Frogmite and Mirror Enforcer and draw a ton of cards by virtue of having a lot of artifacts. You can make a ton of artifacts with things like Blood Fountain. You get to draw a bunch of cards with Deadly Dispute and Thoughtcast with artifacts that you don't need, thus cheating cheap things on the battlefield, and maybe even finishing them off with a card like Makeshift Munitions. It is the best mid-range deck in the format, and frankly, the most popular deck in the format. Blue-black tempo only plays 12 creatures. 2 of them are 1-mana 5/5s. And then Philology Archaeologist basically draws you a card. It's kind of like Augur Bolus. And then you play a bunch of counter spells and removal spells and draw spells. That's it. We're trying to fill our graveyard as fast as possible so we can play the Gurmag Angler and Tolarian Terror and tempo them out. So those are the most popular decks. Let's look at the most successful decks. So this is the top 8 metagame for the last week. At the very top, still, by a lot, is Grixis Affinity, by even more than the percentage it is in the meta. Followed again in second, Blue-Black Tempo, and then in third by Kildatha Red and Blue Fairies. This lines up really similarly with the way the overall metagame had gone. There's some extra decks in here like Boggles and Reapstorm, but the top 8 metagame is reflecting the overall metagame pretty closely. And Grixis Affinity and Blue-Black Tempo show that they are the best still. Every week in these metagames, I always like to look at a deck that I found as I was going through deck lists that I think looks interesting. It might be an old deck that we're bringing back. It might be a new deck and a new innovation. This time we're going to look at Tron. Not Ephemerate Tron, but just Golem Foundry Tron. The Tron plays a ton of cheap artifacts, buys a bunch of time with Weather the Storm, gets Tron and gets a ton of mana, and then can benefit off of those cheap artifacts with things like Makeshift Munitions or playing a bunch of them into a Goblin Foundry. And I think this deck is super, super cool. I like drawing cards, I like playing cheap cards, I like having a ton of mana, and I like killing sort of out of nowhere. And this deck absolutely does that, and I want to be trying it out this next week. So if you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. If you want me to analyze these metagames a little bit... something's in my eye. Ow! If you want me to analyze these metagames a little bit differently, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.